I'm Silvia, and I am a dancer and a movement therapist and interested in relational practices. So I'm really curious about how we relate, how we perceive the way we relate, and how we kind of get affected by each other's presence.
I'm Swen. I'm a computer scientist and a lecturer at the University of Plymouth. I'm mostly interested in automating or helping things to basically be automated or supported, and this is what I'm working on. So I'm using robots and I'm using computer games to help people either engage with something or communicate some ideas. Silvia's idea of having a presence or shared presence in a space was what interested me. So we thought about what could we do, and I suggested audio as one way of moving away from that. And I said there's a way of doing audio localization and maybe finding a shared point in space, and then we basically started bouncing around ideas of what we could do with shared spaces and audio. The first prototype relies still heavily on a screen, but you have a focal point in the space, which is the device where you move around. And the next phase is basically moving away from that massive screen, which is still pretty but not really useful, to move just to, as Silvia just said, to an audio source that you feel the other person in the space, but you don't have to see them. So you get an idea of where the other person is based on the sound they create in your space. And that's one thing we could already see today, that you have sort of a soundscape which you're in, which you're so unaware of, like the noise you saw with the blue dots on the sphere, which is omnipresent, but you don't really realize. And when you saw somebody else in your space, that basically gave a couple of interesting ideas. So that's the next stage, moving away from the big screen, including the LEDs, so that you just have the single focus point, and then maybe just moving to speakers or headphones that you feel or hear the other person.
So it's really exciting to kind of know that we have a lot of potential to develop where we want to go with this, in terms of how then, my sound, if I become a soundscape, how my sound will interact with Sven's sound or with dancers, and potentially how that interaction would then create a new sound. I think there was a moment where we were talking about, wasn't it, what does technology bring in terms of presence, and we discussed a lot about that is not replacing touch or replacing any sense of human, is actually to enlarge our kind of perception and our capacity to perceive, so that we don't need to have sight, but sight can be there, but we're kind of giving another layer of how we can perceive and relate with humans, and notice what that kind of presence creates. The next plan is to send one of those to a few dancers and then start to develop or to test with dancers what we can do in terms of audio and movement.